Welcome to episode 21 of the Brannigan Communications podcast. I am your host, Jasmine Spalding, and I'm here with the Tom Brannigan, who is our CEO and leader, along with Skylar Michaels, who is our digital and graphic designer.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of your staff presentation, which you'll want to stick around because this was definitely one of the most memorable staff presentations, but before diving into that, you both are essential people to the team, but also are very different roles. So I just wanted to ask, how was it collaborating and working together?
It was awesome. I mean, I had no idea what we were going to do going into it, but as soon as we sat down and got together, it was just seamless, I feel like.
I think you and I have always had a pretty easy working relationship. Skylar, when Skylar joined the team, it was instant offense for us in the design area, and I quickly realized that she was going to bring a lot to us. So I do defer to you. And this idea that we're going to segue to was actually your idea. The actual nugget, the nucleus of the idea was all you. And it was a tremendous idea. And it really, I think, took our weekly team meeting or our recurring team meetings in a different direction that was kind of integrated creativity and team building and something that we'd never done before, which was, again, really creative.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I won't have listeners waiting in suspense, so we'll get into it. You said that this was your idea, Skylar, so do you want to tell the people what this presentation was all about?
So what we did was basically a scavenger hunt around the 3rd Ward, and we had the team going to different local businesses that we frequent or we use for different reasons just as a company, and we had them taking different riddles and finding their way throughout, and there was bonus points. It was all just a big team building kind of fun activity that could get us out, get us moving, that kind of thing.
The goal was to earn points, and everybody had a starting clue. And each clue matched up with a different business within, I'd say, maybe 1,000 yards, couple thousand yards of our office. Businesses that we frequent, businesses that make the 3rd Ward in Milwaukee a special place. And we called all the managers, and they were all game. So it made it really easy.
Yeah, so we are a competitive bunch, I'd say. So that definitely helped the situation. So a lot of planning goes into scavenger hunts. How did you guys divide the tasks? Like, whose idea was it to write the riddles and like the little packets? Like, it was really in depth. Like, we got to the staff meeting and they were like, this is what is happening. Good luck. And we were off.
Well, from the start, my original thinking, like the reason I even thought of this idea was that I was sitting down one night watching The Amazing Race, and I'm like, how cool would it be to do something along these lines? Obviously, if you've ever seen The Amazing Race, it's way more in depth. You could never do that in an hour. So we figured let's scale it back and go more of the scavenger hunt route. So once we figured out the details and how many stops we wanted to make, we sat down and talked about what places we wanted. And then from there, I kind of figured out the flow to make sure that no two teams would be following the same path or intersecting in a confusing way, and everyone would make it back and not get a clue for the place that they're currently at or anything weird. And then the clues was more Tom's forte. I would have been a wreck trying to
Not
figure
at
that
all.
out.
No, Skylar designed everything. And that's, of course, good design. You can understand stuff easily. And, it was very clean, but it looked really cool. But then coming up with the clues, there were 5 clues. And so if you imagine 5 teams, each getting a first clue, that's a different place. So it's not like every team is solving a clue, running to the same establishment. So we had them staggered, a little bit of a shotgun start in golf. And then it was coming up with clues that were, some of them were more challenging than others. None of them were too much give-me's, but a couple of them were pretty tough. We wanted to really test people's ability to, use logic and the internet. I mean, I'm sure, everybody had their phones, they were using them. But Skylar referred to, we came up with this idea for bonus points. So if you had a video of somebody on your team doing a good deed for somebody else out there when they were running around, you got 5 bonus points or what have you. So I handled clues, and I also handled calling these establishments and trying to explain in like 30 seconds what we were trying to do.
Yeah, we had like 10 minutes to make all those calls.
How did that go? Like, what were their responses?
It was, every call was similar. It was, what? Well, what? And then, oh, that sounds really fun. And then I asked everybody, I need to know the name of the person who'll be working tomorrow morning between 9 and 10. So they would know, they would have the next clue to give the team once they sussed out where they were going. And, we wouldn't have custody issues with, going to a, like C. Adams Bakery in the public market here was one of them. They're wonderful, wonderful. And wanted to make sure that they wouldn't run up to somebody who didn't know what was going on. So we wanted to make sure that somebody was there who knew what was happening.
And I think that was one of the hard things for me to wrap my head around, is that lack of control, almost not knowing what was going to happen when we handed the clues over. We didn't know. Maybe there still was going to be miscommunication or something on their part, and they would get jumbled and lost. And then I was like, oh no, is this going to fail? But luckily, everything went really smoothly.
And Jasmine's right. It is a competitive group. So you could see that little eye of the tiger as people ran out of here. It was a little like, whoa, it's getting real fast. And there were some people who came back pretty frustrated because they thought they were going to be the first ones back, and they came back.
Yeah,
and,
it started off immediately. We were like, do you take the stairs or the elevator to get outside faster?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And of course, this was like a day that it ended up being like 90 degrees early in the morning. And
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes, I got my workout in. It was really warm. But yeah, we were all out there. And as you said, you kind of staggered the teams, but you did come across every now and then another team, and you're just kind of eyeing them down, making sure that they're
wondering how many clues they have.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. So yeah, those clues were hard.
Were they all hard?
Well, no, not all of them.
Okay.
The first one that we started off with, group 2, which we came in second place. We came in second place, but anyways, regardless, our first one was a little difficult, but we put our strategy and plan, and we were able to overcome that obstacle.
I think that there's with this idea, it really brought out something in our team that I think is a real blessing, and that our team is game. Like, we're game to do stuff and try stuff, whether it be a client challenging us or the scavenger hunt or whatever. There's nobody on our team who's like, yeah, I don't want to play, or I don't want to try, or I don't like. Everybody's kind of up for whatever, the day's going to bring. And I think that that was exemplified in this activity.
Yeah, I didn't know how everyone was going to take it. I had a feeling everyone was going to be excited and think it was like a cool idea, but I wasn't positive. I was like, what if everyone groans and they don't want to be running around the second they walk in the office? But from what I've heard, it seems like everyone was happy.
Now, in retrospect, being a guy, I don't consider shoes. In retrospect, we could have said, wear something comfortable, to be walking around.
To be walking, yeah.
So that was our bad. But overall, I think people really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. Definitely brought something out in our team that we haven't seen, and it definitely was a different spin on the presentations away from...
And teamwork.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what were the businesses that we went to? Just to give them a little thank you.
You're supposed to remember them all? So the Hudson Business Lounge, which is basically attached to our building, they're wonderful. They're a popular lunch place for us. C. Adams Bakery at the market, wonderful bakery, really fun people. Sweet Diner down the street was one.
And they ended up giving the winners like the prize, right? Wasn't there like a lunch?
Oh yeah, so the final winner, they chose Sweet Diner as as the lunch that they had as their prize. The other two were Cafe Benelux, and then
we can edit this.
What was the?
In Benelux, yeah.
Oh, was it Collectivo?
Yes, Collectivo.
Collectivo,
Yes.
and they were awesome too. Although they said, because they're a coffee shop, between 9 and 10 in the morning, it's like kind of a busy time.
Yeah.
So just know that going in that it might be a little crowded in here. But all of them, I mean, the third ward of Milwaukee is great businesses, great people, great products and services. It's just a really neat place to do business.
Yeah, absolutely. Were there certain strengths that you think you guys played into? Like, obviously, you guys have different professional backgrounds. Did any of that come into play? Any weaknesses?
I think I had fun just designing the suite of clues and scorecards and stuff. They were simple, but it was just fun to make them all have a common theme and still be different from one another. And then also problem solving and trying to map out the whole flow of everything and which route the teams would take.
Yeah, I think you're right. Our skill sets are different, but they really complement each other. And it's funny hearing you say, "Oh, I had fun with the design." I'd be like jumping out the window. I'd be like, I can draw stick men, and that's pretty much it. It's not my thing at all. But when it came to figuring out the clues, I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy, and hammered those out. So I think it was a really good example of complementary skill sets, and we just get along really well too. We've collaborated on projects before. We respect each other. We understand what the other one's good at, and it was a really good. So we didn't pick the teams,
right?
So they get picked randomly. So we got thrown together on this. And when you came and said, so Skylar is so self-deprecating. So she's saying, before I know the idea, she's saying things like, "Okay, this might be a bad idea. You might not like this." Like, she's giving me every license to be like,
any easy out.
Yeah.
easy out. And I heard it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is great. It's a great idea.
No, I was glad because it was something I knew we could have a lot of fun with planning, and I figured you'd be jazzed about it.
And not every boss will be like up for it. So I think that's great that we have the creativity and the flexibility to do that.
You're dumb not to recognize a great idea, and that was. As soon as you said the word scavenger hunt, my brain went to like all the creative things we could potentially do with it.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have plans for this, but this would be a good opportunity to maybe wondering if you can showcase your work somewhere, whether that might be on social, who knows. I know you guys have a plan for incorporating all the fun bonus things that we did along the way to earn points.
Well, we did put, I believe, already on social the highlights from it in our story on our Instagram and Facebook, but I'm not sure if it's still in our Instagram story. We can always add that as a highlight because all the pictures and the videos, we didn't upload all videos. Not everyone wants them singing on the World Wide Web, but it is fun to just flip through those and
Jasmine's right,
along.
though. There's a lot of content that we have that hasn't been posted, so I wonder if we can mine that for a little more.
Yeah.
Definitely. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, be sure to do so at Brannigan Communications on Instagram. You'll see all the wonderful things we post and share, and you can learn more about us and who we are in our work. But I digress. So what was your overall, mission for this? And outside of it being a staff presentation, what do you hope that the team got out of this opportunity and this experience?
I think just a renewed idea of teamwork, and not just in we're working together on a project sense, but we're out in the real world. We have to think on our feet. We're being timed. It's problem solving. We didn't really give rules. And we didn't say you can or can't use your phone. We didn't explain the clues. We just let them do what they wanted. And we said, if you have troubles, you can call us. And we didn't put a time restriction on that or anything. So it was very free for all. So each team, I feel like, had to just figure it out as they went.
I think a lot of what you just described also describes our client relationships. A lot of the work we do here is planned, but every once in a while a client will call and say, "Hey, I have a couple hours to figure this out. Can you help me?" Or "I have 2 days to figure this out." So I think I would add, I concur with everything you said, but I would add resourcefulness. There's an aspect to this that you just got to dig deep and figure stuff out, because that's what clients turn to us for. Really sound strategic counsel, great implementation. Sometimes you just got to dig down and figure out how to make something happen. And I think this was really that made manifest. Just be resourceful, figure it out.
Yeah, and you might not always know the answer, but I think what matters is, can you figure out the answer? It's not whether or not you know it up front. It's
Yeah.
what tools do I have? What resources do I have? Who do I have around me? And how can I use all those things to come to a solution?
And sometimes the best resources are the people that you already work with.
Absolutely.
Like there were times where I was paired up with Janet and Sally. So, I mean, those two are a dynamic duo. So they really got down to like the strategy and were finding ways to find the next clues without necessarily putting too much time, like finding the best solution in the shortest amount of time.
Efficiency.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Especially since we only had that hour.
I bet you three, knowing your personalities, I bet you guys worked really well together.
We did. Sally and I are very similar. We're sixes, Enneagrams. Whole episode on that. If you look back in our catalog, we have something. And then Janet is just like, she gets down to it and she's like, all right, this is our plan. Think strategically, and that's really what helped us.
Right.
Nice. Is there anything else you guys would like to add about, the staff presentation or anything else that I might have missed that you really want to share?
I like the random pairing of people because I think we by nature, we gravitate towards people who maybe are wired the way we are, or maybe the last person I've worked with. And the fact that we got paired together, I think really that was a big part of why this works so well. And maybe we don't work together all the time, so there's a freshness there.
Yeah.
Like there's like, you might gravitate towards what's comfortable, but that might not yield the best outcome. So I think that would be something I'd add too.
Yeah, the comfort factor. I feel like you can get so stuck in your ways. And for me, the first round I was paired with Rebecca. The second round I was paired with Ashley, and then you and I were partners. But you and Rebecca both, I don't really work with. So it was cool in both those senses to find whether it was common ground or just an idea that we can both bring to life and go from there.
But you like me better than those two. Can you go on record here?
The jury's still out.
Okay, got it. I'll keep working on that.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, we really appreciate you guys listening to this episode. Make sure to subscribe and review. To listen to more episodes from the Brand Again Communications podcast, make sure to find us on Spotify or anywhere where you get your podcasts. Again, follow us on Instagram at Brand Again Communications. And thanks so much for listening.